Growing old isn't for sissies. Now, like it or not, we're all getting older, have those seniors moments. And some of those moments can be heartbreaking, they can be funny. My guest today says we can take all these things to a God who cares. Karen O'Connor is a popular speaker. She's written dozens of books, including Help, Lord, I'm having a senior moment. Notes to God on growing old. Karen, it's good to have you back on 100 Huntley Street.
Yeah.
I think you're here about 20 years ago.
Yes, it's amazing. I've grown older, but the place looks the same to me.
All right, well, it's so nice to have you here.
I'm thrilled.
Before we start talking about your book, 40 years ago, and I didn't mean to give away your age, but
It's okay.
40 years ago, you had an encounter with Jesus out of a very, very difficult time in your life. It was divorce.
Yeah, it was divorce, and I'm sure there's many people in your audience who could relate to that. It just shattered me because things didn't turn out the way I wanted them to. But, a friend invited me to a Bible study, and that did it. We were studying the book of John, and I found that Jesus is the only way to the Father, and that he came to give me life and abundantly. And so I started following him, reading, just turning my life over to his care.
And it really was a transforming time. It's been an adventure ever since.
Yes.
Now, before we get into the book, something happened a couple of years ago because you did go through this very difficult divorce. A marriage ended that you didn't want to end.
Right.
But God never gives up on us, and he wanted to bring healing into your family.
Absolutely. I have 3 children, 8 grandchildren, a couple of great-grands, and I just wanted at this stage of my life, which I don't know how many years I have left, to have peace for myself and for him and for my kids. And so last year, my ex-husband, my first husband, his wife had died, and my second husband had died. So here we were, the original parents and grandparents, and we met at graduations for 3 of our grandchildren. And I just felt a prompting in my spirit that I should see if I could knit things together. Not that we'd get back together, just to be friends and to have peace in our lives between us. So I approached him. He started crying. I was crying. We were able to hug each other, put the past behind us, and say, for our sakes, for the sake of our family,
Wow.
we are going to be friends, and acknowledge that we did love each other, and we brought these awesome kids into the world. So,
Well, I just love that. As we were getting ready for this
Yeah.
interview, I thought, we need to talk about that.
Yeah.
Because, some would say, well, the decades have passed, let's just leave it there. And sometimes there's nothing you can
Yeah.
do about it. But in your case, you're able to do something
yeah,
positive.
sometimes it is good to leave it alone, but I had to try. Yeah.
Okay, so you write this book. I love it. Help, Lord! Exclamation mark. I'm having a senior's moment.
Yeah.
So what prompted you, Karen, to put these 90-plus stories in here?
Well, I became a senior about 15 years ago, and I noticed that I was starting to feel old, and I didn't like the idea. And I'm a person who really enjoys just being joyful and happy, and I'm known for my humor. So I started playing around with it, and I went to a writers' conference in California, and I met an editor who was talking to me about maybe working with me. I said, I have this title. And I shouted it out to her, and she said, I can sell that to the editorial committee, no question. And I said, really? I don't know if I actually have the book yet. She said, well, go home and think about what you'd put into it. And during a couple of weeks of thinking, I realized I could write these little notes to God and then have a scripture afterwards, but they could have like a humorous tone to them. And I wrote 3 or 4 or 5, whatever, sent them in. They bought the book, and I'm here to tell you it has sold over 300,000 copies in all that time.
Congratulations on
Yeah.
that.
That's because seniors really want to be acknowledged. They want to have fun. They don't want to spend their years just complaining or looking back. So,
No, and
yeah.
I do a lot of international travel, and I see in many countries that seniors are revered.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, in our culture, it's not always that way.
No, sometimes it's like, okay, just, sit at the edge of the couch, or maybe you'd be better off in a nursing home, and there are times for that, but I like to believe that even if if I know people in a nursing home, or if I end up there someday, I hope they have a book like this to keep them going.
Your book, what I love about it, because I like reading stories,
Uh-huh.
and I do a lot of reading, but I like stories, and you've got some great ones here. I found myself laughing at times out loud,
Mm-hmm.
and at other times
Yeah,
tears
tear,
rolling
yeah.
because getting old is not easy. There's the physical limitations. You talk about the senior moments, and we joke about that, whether it's leaving our keys somewhere and we can't find
Having
them.
the phone on your ear as you walk around looking for it because you think you lost it.
Or looking for my glasses and I'm
Right.
actually wearing them,
Yeah.
But I want to talk about a couple of stories here. One that really was funny to me was this couple, they're living in Phoenix, and they have a roost. They want to get their son and daughter from across the country out to Arizona for Thanksgiving. So the son, is talking to his dad, and the dad says, yeah, we're getting divorced. And after 42 years, yeah, we're miserable, we're divorcing. So the father, he's got this all planned.
Right.
So the son calls his sisters, so the siblings, we're coming out. Well, it was all a ruse to get them
Right.
for Thanksgiving.
So they all gathered at Thanksgiving and found out Mom and Dad are staying together, but at least now we have you here for a change. It was funny.
And they're wondering how they can get them back for Christmas, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and then you also share these stories. The laundromat story. Tell me that one. I love that one.
Yeah, I like that story too. My husband, when I married him, my second husband, he said, one stipulation, I have to be in charge of the laundry. And I said, let me think about that. Yes. And so anyway, one day while he was doing the laundry, I'm sitting in my office typing away, probably on a book, and he shows up at the doorway and says, look what I did. And he holds up his billfold and it's dripping with water. He said, I left my wallet in my pocket and it went through the washer. Anyway, we laughed about it. We knew everything would dry out. But later I thought, there's a story here. And so the story is that I added a little bit, and then I said, here's this wonderful man that I loved and he loved me. What do I find out he's doing in his spare time? Laundering our money. That's a good one.
It's good. And you also share these stories. There's they were dear friends, Karen and Nancy. They met in grade school. They grew up together. They were seniors together, tennis partners,
Right.
and one passed away.
Yeah, I know. That feeling of your childhood friend that you think you're going to have forever. And it's just such a reminder of how life is so tentative and we can lose the loved ones at any moment. So I know that she had a lot to reflect on and was just grateful for what they had.
And I like what you said. Be thankful for that person in your life
Yeah.
rather than just being sad.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. I mean, that was true when my husband died. I'm sure many in your audience have lost loved ones, and we can focus on that. Or as one of my friends said, okay, a husband or a wife dies, but that doesn't mean you have to stop living. In fact, they'd probably want you to keep going. At the end of my husband's life, he said to me, I love you, you loved me. We've said everything we wanted to say to get to each other, and I just know it's my time. And I'm crying while I'm listening. Isn't that a beautiful way to end?
It is. I
Yeah.
mean, we're all gonna die. That's
Right.
just the reality of it all.
Right.
So Karen, we're gonna have these seniors moments. As I've gotten older, there's things that I forget. I'm grateful for my iPhone where I can type in things that can remind me of meetings I'm supposed to be at.
Right.
But how do we prevent our mind, like just sort of giving up? All these, I'm going to forget things, I'm going to lose my mind, and that's,
Right.
how do we keep sharp? Because you keep sharp.
Yeah, I do. And I make a point of it because I'm still holding on to life. I just turned 81 in April, and suddenly I'm like, wow, that's an old decade. But I keep going. I'm in a line dancing group with seniors every Wednesday night. I love it. We wear our cowboy hats and our boots, and we do
right.
the, push tush or whatever it's called. So that's really fun. I go to the gym 2 or 3 days a week. And for my mind, I work puzzles and games on my iPhone. And I read. I absolutely love having the time now to read. So those are my suggestions. I think everyone has their own way. My mother worked crossword puzzles, so that challenged her mind, and she was pretty bright up until the last couple of years of her life.
I think science is catching up to the Bible, not the other way around. And there's a verse in the book of Romans, Paul's writing, and it's talking about our minds being transformed. So I think what you're saying is very true, that we need to keep active. We need to, reading, line dancing, all these
Right.
things to keep the mind sharp.
Yeah, and it's he said transform our minds by the renewing of them. So I think there is a time where we feel like giving up, but hey, I know seniors have gone back to college. Some of them are volunteering for in places where maybe they never thought they would before, like maybe being a tutor for kids that have illiteracy problems. So we can always find a place to be useful and to give our gifts if we're willing. That's the bottom line. Are you willing to have your mind transformed and to keep going?
Hey, we have a lot of people that have been watching this show for more than 40 years. They've been so faithful supporting. What would you say to them to encourage, or anybody, maybe they don't even know Jesus, what would you say to them so they can still feel valuable in our culture?
Well, I think, and for me, I look for ministry opportunities in my church. I was telling you ahead of time, we take care of the homeless, we feed the hungry, and so I think that, you know, volunteering and giving of yourself to ministry is a great idea. And along the way in my life too, you know, when I meet a new friend, like I have a fairly new friend in my life, and she's not a churchgoer. In fact, she's kind of fed up with all that religion stuff. So what I do, I just invite her to come to a like a women's convention, or maybe a Saturday that's just for women. Not shoving anything at her, but just giving her an opportunity to be exposed to the teachings, and then she can take it from there. So I think it's the subtle, simple approach, and mostly by your example, how you live your life, not the words you say.
Well, we just met today, and you're just a breath of fresh air.
Thank
I
you.
love your passion, and I think for those who maybe just a little younger, you know, it just reminds us, you know, right until the day that we leave this earth, that we
Yeah.
can be valuable to somebody. So, Karen, thank you for sharing your time with us today. The name of the book is Help, Lord. I'm having a senior moment. What was your name again? No, I'm just kidding.
Thank you so much. It was really a
It was
pleasure.
really good to
Great.
see you, you know.
Thank you.
And hey, you know what? If you're feeling lonely today, maybe you're a senior, you know, there's a place for you. And it might be, I know I've got family members that are watching and there's limitations physically, but you know what? We still can have a purpose. And if you're feeling lonely, you know, please know that we have people that will talk with you on our prayer line. Give us a call, 1-866-273-4444. Until we leave this earth, we have a purpose, and that is to glorify God in any way we can. So we'll keep on doing that. Thank you again, Karen,
Thank
for
you.
inspiring us today.
Yeah, my pleasure.
And we'll have more of 100 Huntley Street right after this.